In this video, I'm going to discuss the best stack in every single October 2025 BTO project. Let's start with Berlayar Residences. So before we go to the site plan, probably let's read the legend together first. So the light pink is 2-room flexi type 1, the deep pink is 2-room flexi type 2, green is 3-room, yellow is 4-room, and then the light yellow here is a rental unit. Okay, so this is the site plan for Berlayar Residences. As you can see, the 2-room flexi type 1 is only here, and then 3-room also is only here. And then the rest are either 4-room or 2-room flexi type 2. And to give you context, Labrador Park is basically this side. But then note that even though currently the land plot is blank, but the site has been reserved for future high-rise residential development. So, unfortunately, eventually it will be blocked. And then it said that this part is actually reserved for a park, but it doesn't seem much. But having said that, with the park over here, meaning you have a little bit of buffer before the next high-rise residential building. And then on the upper part, this is the highway. Basically, the expressway would be here. Okay, let's start with the best stack for 2-room flexi type 1. Because basically, we only have 2 stack, right? 240 and 242. But nevertheless, if you can get 242 above the 6-story multi-story car park, then at least the view is better. So I would say for 2-room flexi type 1, 242 is the best stack. Okay, now let's talk about 2-room flexi type 2. Okay, so for 2-room flexi type 2, basically you have 8 stacks to choose from. I would say, I think stack 204 would be good because it will face the Labrador Park. 202 and 200, it might overlook the expressway even though the distance is quite far, but then it might impact your resale value later on. And then I would say the next option I would think is good would be 226 because it will basically overlook the upcoming park nearby. I know that eventually there will be a high-rise residential development as well, but as I mentioned, at least there's a park to buffer the distance. So I would say stack 226 looks good as well. And also 226 is a corner unit, right? That's why it will give you more privacy versus, let's say, 224. Now, you might ask why not 228? So 228, actually, you might have some exposure to the park as well. But then remember, the highway is right over there on the upper part, on the north part. So yeah, again, that might impact your daily experience as well as the future resale value. Now let's talk about the best stack for a 3-room flat. For 3-room flat, I think both 244 and 246 are good option because it can give you visibility towards Labrador Park until the next building is developed. But again, because of the layout, right, I would say the 244 is more private because it is in the corner. Next, let's talk about the best stack for 4-room flat. Now, for 4-room flat, you have significantly more options. To be precise, there are 12 stacks to choose from. So, which one would be the best? I would say that probably stack 234 and 232 would be a good option because especially 232, you might be able to see the Labrador Park. But then, if 236 and 238, it will face the multi-story car park. Not only that, 236 is, relatively close to the rental blocks. Personally, again, I have no problem with it. Everybody is just a human being. But having said that, I know that there are some people who still have a negative perception about rental blocks, even probably 234. Some people might consider it too close to the rental blocks because even though it is on a different block, but then you can still see it. So if there's any commotion or, anybody fighting or like littering or anything like that, it will be visible probably. The only way 238 is okay if you can get like level 7 and above because the multi-story car park would be 6-story high. And then next one, what about 210 and 208? Well, the problem with these two is that it will face basically the facilities here, right? So especially if you are sensitive to noise, like, if you would be easily bothered with sounds from the playground or the fitness corner, then 210 and 208 is going to be a challenge for you. So probably this would not be suitable if you prefer calmness. If you do want to pick something that is facing the inner courtyard, probably this one, 222 and 220, still slightly better because it will just face this preschool, and preschool is only 2-story high, right? So if let's say even if you take like level 5 or level 6, you can still get an unblocked view, even though it's towards the inner courtyard. For 216 and 218, we already mentioned and discussed before, right? It will basically face the highway. So I would not recommend 216 or 218 unless you can get like really high floors. If you get a terrible queue number and you only left with stacks that are facing the expressway, probably like 212 or 214 would be slightly better because here got drop off point mah. So at least there is some buffer before you see the highway. Yeah, so but having said that, I already mentioned for 4-room flat, basically your best choice would be, I would say, 232. And personally, I don't mind 222 as well. Now let's talk about Redhill Peaks. So Redhill Peaks only have a 2-room flexi as well as 4 rooms, so there are no 3 rooms. So if we look at the land plot, this plot already surrounded by other buildings, but then this part is still blank. But then it is already projected to be launched this February 2026 as another BTO. So pretty much on this side, you will have block views. And then on this side, this is already an existing residential high-rise. And then this way, I think some of the buildings here are like mid-level high. So probably if you can get unit beyond level 20, you would still be able to get an unblocked view. So in terms of the highest level for this block 144A, it will basically the highest is level 49, but for the other 2 blocks, for level 145A and 144B, the highest floor would be level 40. For 2-room flexi, I think your best bet would be stack 149 or 147 because it will be overlooking the multi-story car park. So if let's say you get a unit beyond level 7, let's say level 8 onwards, then you will be able to get an unblocked view. Of course, it will give you some buffer towards the opposite side. So it's not truly unblocked view, but then I think that's the best choice. Now you may ask, how come not stack 145 or 143? Well, it's because 145 and 143 is very near to the lift lobby mah. Then you might hear noises of people passing by, so that's a watch out. Whereas 149 and 147 is relatively at the corner. Best stack for 4-room flat, I would say I'm okay with 141, 139, 123, and 121. Again, but you must get a unit above level 8 if you don't want to see the multi-story car park blocking your view. Now, but then again, remember that only this block 144A, the maximum level is level 49, whereas the other 2 is only up to level 40. So if you want to maximize the possibility of you getting the best resale value down the road, then pick block 144A, the highest unit, as much as possible. I would say that one thing that I like about Redhill Peaks is that it doesn't have this long hallway. It's quite efficient in terms of the layout, because if you have such a long hallway, right, usually there's a risk of privacy that people can see your kitchen and laundry area from outside. But I think so this one, hopefully the privacy is better for this BTO. Okay, next let's talk about the Mount Pleasant Crest best stack. So we start first with the legend. So the color legend is actually consistent. One thing for note is that Mount Pleasant Crest has one block dedicated only for rental units, but then it also has mixed stack. So if we look at the site plan, if we zoom out, basically the expressway is this, and then this site has been reserved for future high-rise commercial and residential development. So most probably this would be like a mall downstairs, and then like some condos on top of it, and then this part is Singapore Polo Club, and then interestingly this site is actually overlooking Makrichi Reservoir. So I don't know how high you need to be, but the Makrichi Reservoir is on that direction. And then the other sites are reserved for, again, high-rise residential buildings. So eventually those views will get blocked as well. So for two-room flexi, I think the stack that I personally like would be stack 181, 179, 177, and 175. Why? Because it's actually at the end, right? It's at the corner. Because if you, let's say you live near like such a long hallway like this, typically the challenge is that people can see to your kitchen. I've went viewings for several apartments that looks like that, whereby from outside, if the owner doesn't put any covering, then people who pass by can just see what's in the kitchen and in the laundry room, etc. It's not really giving you a good privacy. So that's why I like these stacks, 181, 179, 177, and 175. And even though it will eventually has a block view because of the upcoming integrated development, but you see there's a 5-story multi-story car park here with roof garden. So meaning if you can get like level 6 and above, then you should be able to be above that car park. And then this car park will also give you some buffer before the next high-rise building. So I think that's good. So for 3-room, I think the choice is obvious, which is stack 115, simply because the Singapore Polo Club is there. Again, Makrichi Reservoir is also on that direction. So I think stack 115 would be the best for 3-room option. And then for 4-room flat, I think the best option would be stack 117 and 119, because again, facing Singapore Polo Club, facing Makrichi Reservoir. But then again, for Mount Pleasant Crest, because Toa Payoh has a consistent demand and proven by past statistics, right? The resale transaction values is usually very good, and even based on the data that HDB provided, like a 4-room flat in this area can fetch more than $1 million right now. So, you know, I can't imagine like 15-20 years down the line, it would be even better as well, unless the government intervenes. So I think, you know, regardless of which unit you pick, if you are lucky enough to get a queue number here, I think you stand a chance to resell your flat in the future if that's what you want. Now, having said that, remember that stack 169 and stack 123 are mixed stack, meaning that the lower part is rental units, the upper part is BTO. So do take note, especially if you want to buy into block 104A or 100A. The only block that is fully BTO is only 105A. But then in terms of the view, all are block. If you want unblocked view, it seems like your best bet would be this one, 100A. So it's up to you, just put that in mind. Next, let's talk about Chencharu Grove. So the legend is pretty much the same with other development. The only difference would be Chencharu Grove has this 5-room, so it's indicated by this light orange color. So before we go into the details, if we zoom out, what we have here is that there will be a high-rise commercial and residential integrated development over here. And then there's a neighborhood park over here. And then for this side, this is basically Naval Base Secondary School and also Paying Primary School. So along this line. And then after that, the upper part here on the north, this will be basically future high-rise residential development. And then there's a HDB upcoming on the left side. There's a small neighborhood park here. Yeah, so basically that's the layout. So basically the good facing, quote unquote good, yeah, the good facing will be basically along this primary and secondary school. Why? Because those are low-rise buildings, right? So if you can get like middle or high-level floors, then you can get some unblocked view before, of course, you can still see another public housing in the distance, but at least it will be buffered by the secondary and primary school. So mostly the units facing that would be the 4-room flat, and also got like one 3-room flat here. And for stack 401 in particular, I think you can still see the neighborhood park, so probably that's good. Watch out that this block 969B will be rental units. Just based on anecdotal experience, like some people still have stigma towards rental units. So I'm guessing stack 301 and stack 303 would probably have a lower resale value simply because it's facing the rental blocks. Now for this one, the 5-room flat, stack 375 and 373, I don't know what can you see towards the rental blocks, because maybe this would be a bedroom or maybe like the laundry room. So I don't know, but that is a risk. And then note that number 4 over here, this is a hard court. So if let's say you might be bothered by noises, then probably it's better to avoid a unit that is facing this direction. But from the looks of the layout, seems that there's no unit that is directly facing the hard court, so that's good. So for 2-room flexi, probably your best bet would be 219, 217 or 215, because it is facing the multi-story car park, which will be about 7-story high. So if you can get level 8 and above, then you will have quite an unblocked view, because it's quite a distance until the rental blocks. For 3-room, we already mentioned that the best option would be this one, stack 359. And then for 4-room flat, your best bet would be all units basically along this line. Now, the watch out is that in terms of perspective about school, I know that there are mixed perception. Like some people likes it because if you get above a certain floor level, you can get an unblocked view. But I also know that for some people, being so close to school, they have concerns about noise level, because indeed, like school, they would have like school bells, right? And then the kids would have activities outside, and then there will be chatters, and you can still hear them, which I understand. So take that with a pinch of salt. And then the challenge with this development is that because of the height restrictions due to the proximity to airbase, right? You see the number of stories is very limited. So like the highest floor is only up to level 15, which you can imagine like Redhill Peaks we discussed earlier. I think Redhill Peaks, the highest was like level 49 or something. So if Chencharu Grove, the highest level is only level 15, you can imagine this is actually quite short. So if you are picking a unit that is facing the primary and secondary school here, if you can get, let's say, above level 10, maybe that's still okay. But then if you only get like level 6 or level 7, you probably can still hear the noises from the school activities quite loud. In such scenario, you may be better off like picking a unit that is facing towards the inner courtyard. Now, next, let's talk about 5-room flat. So this is interesting because honestly, I'm quite struggling to think like which 5-room flat is ideal, because it seems that every single one of them, there's always a cons. Like, so for example, like this one, 305, 365, and 383, this will basically face the high-rise commercial and residential integrated development, right? And then this one, 375, 377, 343, and 341 will be facing the communal facilities, so it might be noisy at specific time of the day unless you get a high level unit. And then this one, anyway, there's always a but for everything. Like even 333, 335, 203, 205, it's facing another high-rise residential development. So it seems that for a 5-room flat, there's no ideal facing here, honestly. If you put a gun on my head, I would probably maybe pick 387, 373, 345, or 331. But that is with a caveat that on that floor, there should not be this linkway, because the brown thing is basically a linkway, but at this point, I don't know at which level it would be. For example, let's say your unit is at level 10, and then the linkway is at level 10. Then you have a privacy concern because the 5-room is here. So just a watch out. If I have to pick something that is facing the road, I don't know, probably even pick 305, 385 or 383. Why? It's a very practical reason. When you want to sell your flat, let's say down the road, you can take photo and then you can show that from your living room, you can see the condo, the integrated development just opposite it. And then you can market it as, oh, it's very nearby towards good amenities, etc. I mean, but that's just me. I don't know. You guys, please, you guys should not take my opinion too seriously, okay? I'm just basically some random person talking about HDB. So please take anything that I mention with a grain of salt. You should form your own opinion about picking your unit. Next, let's talk about Yishun Glade. So this project is interesting because it only has 2-room flexi and 4-room, and then that's it. So this is the site plan. And then if we look at this, actually, like, this plot is already surrounded by other HDBs. So we cannot expect any unblocked view about this place. I would say another interesting observation about this development is that this project has a dedicated block just for singles and seniors. So for block 341A, all of these stacks are just for 2-room flexi type 1. So that's amazing. I'm actually happy that the government is allocating more 2-room flexi in this October 2025 BTO launch, because looking at the application rate, you know, singles and seniors definitely need the support. Okay, having said that, which stack is the best for 2-room flexi type 1? So that's actually a tough question because, again, like what I said, all the views on all sides are blocked. So you cannot expect unblocked view for this development. Probably then we need to consider other factors such as proximity to lift. So for example, you can imagine 162 will be quite noisy because it's very near towards the lift lobby. And then with all of these long corridors, you might have some privacy concerns as well. Now 152 and 154 is probably more private because it's at the end of the hallway. But having said that, it is near the communal facilities, both of them. So there might be some noises. Probably I would pick 154, assuming that I can secure a unit above level 5, because the multi-story car park is a 5-story car park. For 2-room flexi type 2, well, 128 is at the end. And then I would probably appreciate 178 and 176 as well, even though it has blocked views. But you know, at least it's not facing the road, it's facing another existing housing development. Now just a watch out, like 166 is not ideal because it's so close to the lift lobby. For the 4-room flat, I would say 126, 124 and 120 would be my suggestion, because it is facing the inner courtyard, and then on this side there's no communal facilities. 110 probably still okay as well because it's not directly exposed to the communal facilities. 104 is probably still okay as well. It's a little bit further away from the communal facilities and it's at the end. Okay, next let's talk about Bishan Terraces. So Bishan Terraces has a 2-room flexi, 3-room and 4-room. But then if you note the legend here, there is one particular difference where it has a rental flat from the 2nd until 26 stories. And then the upper part from level 27 until level 38 would be normal BTO. So this is the site plan. So if we zoom out a little bit, actually this land plot is already surrounded by high-rise building. The only low-rise building that I'm seeing is this Guangyang Secondary School, but then the rest is high-rise building. So if we're talking about the best stack for 2-room flexi type 1, unfortunately there's only one stack, 304, so you don't have any option. For 2-room flexi type 2, I think if you can get unit 328 or 330, then at least it can face probably like unblocked view if you could get a floor beyond the Guangyang Secondary School, especially for stack 3 to 8. And then for 3-room, you have a choice of 326, 302 or 300, right? I think 3 to 6 will be too exposed again to the common facilities, hence the noise level might increases, especially on the late afternoon or weekends when the kids are playing at the playground. So probably stack 302 or stack 300 is good for 3-room. but it has to be higher than this preschool lah. And then for 4-room flats, I think your best choice would be stack 318 or 316 because again it faces the secondary school. However, please note that particularly for Bishan Terraces, for stack 306 and stack 324, the lower part is rental units. Okay, so we see the legend again, okay? Rental flat from level 2 until level 26. So that would mean that even for the neighbors, if let's say you buy a stack 300 and then you got it at level 10, for example, then your opposite neighbor would be the rental units lah. For me personally, I have no problem with it, but I know that some people has concerns with such arrangement. So please take note that even though it's only stack 306 and stack 324, that has a mixed stack where the lower part is rental and then the upper part is full BTO. But do remember, because both blocks are sharing the same lifts, you know, sharing the hallway, etc. So you have to take that into consideration. So for example, if you get a 4-room flat and then you buy stack 322, let's say at level 6, for example, then you will be sharing the common hallway with the rental units. But then again, personally, I am very supportive for Singaporeans to live with dignity. So, you know, I'm just telling you as is. But if you want to look at it from a positive angle, if the concern of living close to rental units are a concern for some people, that would mean that for level 26 and below, people might not book those units. But then again, if you think objectively, if you manage to buy a 3-room flat or 4-room flat at level 18, for example, 18 is already quite high, you know. It should have a good resale value already. So I think if you can just think positively, then this would probably be a good option for you to secure a unit here at Bishan Terraces. Now let's talk about Pingi Court. So if we look at the legend, the difference would be they have a 3-gen, so this is like this gray color, and then they also have 5-room, which is this color. And note that the highest level for all blocks would be level 15 because there's a height restrictions in the area. So if we zoom out at the site plan, so this side is already an existing public housing. The watch out is this part. There's an existing hard court, so there might be some noise concerns in that part. Now this one is a nursing home. Now I checked in Google Map and I counted, it looks like the building is about like 10 stories high. So meaning that if you can get level 11 and above and then you're facing this nursing home, you might get an unblocked view. And I'm guessing this part will also be quite unblocked because there's a Chinese temple here. And then there's a home for disabled adults. So I think this one is also going to be a low-rise building. So let's start with 2-room flexi first. So for 2-room flexi type 2, I would say your best bet would be maybe 601, 603, 605, and 607 because it will be facing the multi-story car park. But note that this car park, the highest level is level 7. So make sure you get level 8 and above. Otherwise, your view will be blocked by the multi-story car park. Another option that is probably also okay would be 535 and stack 533 because it is also overlooking the multi-story car park. Again, the highest level for the car park is level 7, whereas the highest level for all of the blocks here in Pingi Court is level 15. Now you might ask, why not these 507, 505, 503, and 501? Well, because it is facing the communal facility, so you might have some noise if got event or something like that. So that's the watch out. And you might ask, what about 2-room flexi type 1? Well, all of them are just side by side like this. Like I think it doesn't matter. All of them has the exact same facing. Probably the only difference would be 519 and 521 will be more exposed to the lift because you see the lift is over here. So then that's a watch out because your noise level might be quite high if you take 519 or 521. Probably the least evil option would be 523 or 525, even though it's not exactly ideal because of this very lengthy hallway. Next up, for 3-room flat, I think your best option would be 551 and also 563 because it is facing the nursing home, which goes up to level 10. So make sure you get a unit higher than that. Another alternative, if you are okay with inner facing, maybe 541 is not that bad, especially if you can get level 8 and above. It will be facing the multi-story car park. But again, if you can get a unit higher than level 8, then you have some distance before you see other unit. For 4-room flat, the best option would be the one facing the nursing home, 549 and maybe 569 in particular. Actually, 553 and 565, the view might be okay as well, but then it's nearer to the lift lobby, so that's a watch out for you. And probably another option that is maybe not that bad would be 515 because it can still overlook the THK home for disabled adults over here, which should be a low-rise building. I think this one is already a high-rise, so 517 would be completely blocked already. For 5-room, I think your best bet would be 545, 547, and also 567 because it is facing the nursing home. I would say for this development, be careful on these 3 stack, 585, 583, and also 581, simply because, you know, there's an existing hard court over here. So I don't know how active is it. It's being utilized, but the noise level might bother you, or it can be something of a concern for future resale buyers later on. Actually, if you don't mind the noise level, this is actually quite generous in terms of space. Like 613, 615 is quite a distance until you can see your neighbor here, right? So you see the distance is actually quite good. It's just that these blocks in the middle, these are basically the communal facilities like playground and fitness corner and a plaza, etc. So that's a watch out. But if you don't mind with that, and then actually, you know, it's not that bad. 613, 615. And next, for 3-gen flat, you only have these 2 stacks to choose from, 509 and 527. I think neither of them are special. Yeah, neither of them are special. So, you know, either way works fine because you see both are located at the corner. And then I think both will have block view actually. Like this one will face this public housing, and then this one also facing another public housing. So for 3-gen, you know, either way it's good. Just pick a unit as high as possible. Next, let's talk about Fernvale Plains. So in terms of the legend, the rest is pretty much the same with what we have discussed. However, note that they have a 5-room, which is the light orange, and then they also have community care apartments, which is this pink color. If we zoom out, I think what we can notice is that there is a site here reserved for a park. So meaning that any unit that is facing this would be able to have a good resale value down the line. And then watch out that this one is the expressway, but then HDB already arranged so that this part will be buffered by the multi-story car park. So but just a watch out, this is the expressway. And then here, this one is future high-rise residential development. I believe this is another HDB. And then there will be a site for nursing home, but I don't know how high the nursing home would be. And then this side is a primary school, but then you can see that there's an LRT track here. So every few minutes, it will pass through, right? Until midnight. So that's a watch out as well. Okay, so let's start with 2-room flexi first. So all of the 2-room flexi options in this development is facing inwards. So this one and also this one, if I have to pick, it's a bit difficult because as you can see, all of them are facing the communal facilities. So I think either one you pick, it's pretty much the same actually. Just try to pick as high as possible because like all of them are facing inwards and also facing the inner courtyard, so not much difference. For 4-room flat, I think your best bet would be this one, 420, because it is going to face the park. So that would be the choice stack. Initially, I was about to say that 496 and 494 is probably okay because it is facing the primary school, which is a low-rise building. But having said that, note that again the LRT track is just right here, so that might have some impact on your resale value down the line. So yeah, because even though let's say you personally are not bothered by it, like some people might assume that it's very noisy, but to be objectively fair, LRT is actually not as noisy as MRT. That's what I've noticed. So just note that I think not many people will choose units that is facing this LRT track, as well as probably people would hesitate also to pick a unit that is facing the expressway, even though there's a multi-story car park to buffer it. But then still, you still see it, you can still feel it, you can still hear it, so that's a watch out. In such case, if let's say noise level is a concern for you, then you might want to consider units that are facing the inner courtyard. So for example, you see 480 or 474, so this is like facing inner courtyard. It is near to the communal facilities, but then it's at diagonal direction, so hopefully it's not, you're not directly exposed to the noise as much, hopefully. And then for 5-room flat, the choice stack would be 414, 416 and 418. I don't know whether 414 people would see as like a bad luck number or something, so maybe just a watch out. Probably you pick 418, maybe got better impression lah rather than 414. I don't know, maybe. Now let's talk about Oakfield at Ang Mo Kio. So this is the site plan for Oakfield. So what I like about this development is the land plot is huge. So you can see that even the distance between one block to another is quite spread away. So that's good. So this site is overlooking the Anderson Secondary School. And then this side also, it's reserved for another school, so it will be low-rise building as well. And then, but this side is another public housing, so this will be another high-rise residential building. Now this side is facing Nanyang Polytechnic. So based on Google Map, it seems that Nanyang Polytechnic in general is like low-rise building as well. So seems like it's only like 4-story building. So seems like if you get a unit overlooking the Nanyang Polytechnic, you will get unblocked view as well if you can secure a high floor unit. So with that in mind, let's talk about the best stack for 2-room flexi first. So for 2-room flexi type 1, you don't really have that much option, but I guess probably stack 341 is good because it is overlooking Anderson Secondary School, which is a low-rise building. For 2-room flexi type 2, I would say that stack 279, 281, 253 and also 255 should be good because again it's facing the upcoming school and park, which will be low rise. For the same reason, I believe stack 363 is also quite good if you are looking for 2-room flexi type 2. For 3-room flat, I think the best option would be stack 275 and 261 because it is overlooking the upcoming school and also park. So that's good. Now, before we talk about the best stack for 4-room flat, I think we better talk about some of the details. So you see, this area has a lot of common facilities. So any units that is facing that will be a bit noisy, and then this part is also common facilities, right? So again, if you are concerned with noise level, probably any stack that is facing that is not ideal. Now with that in mind, I would say the best option for 4-room flat would be this side, like 277, 283, 285, 257, 259 and also 263. I guess one thing I don't like about this design is that you see they have again very lengthy corridors, which usually translates to privacy concerns. So that's the watch out. Actually, if you don't mind having block view, as long as you have a little bit more quietness, probably stack 297, 295, 335 and 337 is actually not bad. Why? Because it's at the corner, and then you see the distance between these two blocks are quite big. So hopefully it will give you a little bit more quietness, some privacy. Same goes with stack 313, 311, 319 and 321. It's not that bad either. Yeah, because it's located at the corner. And of course, stack stack 345, 343, 361, and 359 are also good options because it will face the Anderson Secondary School, which is a low-rise building. Okay, next let's talk about Teban Heights. So Teban Heights has 2-room flexi, 3-room, 4-room, 5-room, and 3-gen flat. And this is the site plan. So if we zoom out, basically Pandan Reservoir is over here. And then this part is existing public housing. And then this one is currently empty, but it is already reserved for future high-rise residential development. So the view will be blocked as well. And then this one though, it's a secondary school, which is a low-rise building. Now, when I look at this site plan map, honestly, I'm like, why do they put the multi-story car park here? Because see, it is not facing an expressway or something like that, and Pandan Reservoir is over here because logically, like if you want to really maximize the number of units that is facing the reservoir, right, this should not be the car park. The car park should be like at the back or something, isn't it? I think the only thing that probably I'm not sure about is whether this MRT line will be underground or is it above the ground. If it's above the ground, then okay, it makes sense why they put the car park over here. But if this MRT line is underground, then I am upset like with whoever planning this site plan, because man, come on, like this is near a reservoir. Like most people would want like water view, even though like I know people say, oh, but it's smelly lah, and then whatever, but still in terms of resale value, it would be better to put in your marketing materials, right, that your unit is facing waterfront, whatever. So anyway, that's just me ranting about this car park. Now let's talk about which one is the best stack for 2-room flexi. For 2-room flexi, unfortunately, none of them is facing the reservoir. So 732 and 704 is facing inner courtyard, and there's a communal facilities here, so the noise level might be a concern. And then 714 and 716, even though currently it is facing an unblocked plot, but then in the future it will be built into high-rise residential development. And of course, as you know, during the development you will hear noise for like 5 years or something, so that's a watch out. Seems like facing inner courtyard would be the best option for 2-room flexi in this development. Next, let's talk about 3-room flat. For 3-room, I think your best bet would be 700. Why? Because it is facing the multi-story car park, which will be 7-story high, whereas this development is actually quite high. The highest level is level 36 and 37, depending on which block that you want. So I think 700 is your best bet for 3-room flat. And then next one for 4-room flat, I like 722, 720, and then that's it. For 734, you might be able to see the Pandan Reservoir, but maybe from your like laundry room or something. Not sure. I think this one, your living room will face this one actually. I think your inner courtyard. I think so. For 5-room, obviously the best stack would be 726 and 724 because you will be overlooking the Pandan Reservoir. And then for 3-gen, there's no option. There's only one stack, 718. So it is what it is. But what do you think, guys? Please comment down below if you think like certain stack is better than others. Please put your note in the comment down below. To support my work, you can give a one-time tip by pressing the thanks button, pick the amount that you want, and click buy and send. Or you can also press the join button for exclusive contents and monthly membership. Your support means a lot to keep us independent. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye!